Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
We would like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Gulfstream Park's championship meet runs now through March 30th with high-quality action throughout, including the Florida Derby on Saturday, March 29th. Yes, this is Racing Across America on a Saturday morning, and I am Seth Merrow, and thanks for joining us. As always, appreciate it. Over the next hour, we'll hit on some of the racing this afternoon. It's another big weekend of racing. The return of the champ, horse of the year from 2024, Torpedo Anna in the Azeri at Oaklawn. That should be very exciting to see how she comes back from the big 3-year-old season and steps onto the 4-year-old scene. And again, that'll be later on today at Oaklawn. At Tampa, plenty of action with the Tampa Bay Derby, a nice undercard of stakes action as well. But we'll see what shakes out on the 3-year-old scene with some interesting runners in the Tampa Bay Derby this afternoon. And we're going to talk about all of that as we get into the show with the guests this morning. Do want to alert you that there's a Fan Appreciation Day at the Hudson Branch today. If you're a patron down in that direction, we would love to have you stop by Hudson Branch this afternoon. Vouchers, PPs, food, and a contest. Always a fun contest at a Fan Appreciation Day where you can maybe win a little extra. And again, that's the Hudson Branch this afternoon. Fan Appreciation Day. Stop down so we can say thank you to you. Sunday, tomorrow, there'll be a King of the Hill contest. Again, here at the Clubhouse Racebook, we had a winner last week, scooped up $400. So we reset, but you get your chance to win tomorrow afternoon. Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. All right, again, some guests talking about the various stakes action across the country. A little bit later on, we caught up with Brad Cox. Both of these interviews we taped yesterday because on big days, sometimes it's easier to connect on Friday than to try to squeeze in on obviously a very busy day. So we caught up with Brad Cox yesterday. He has Patch Adams in the Tampa Bay Derby. He has Most Wanted in a stake earlier there. He has a full sibling to Gamee on the undercard, making a career debut at Tampa. We hit on that. He has a Horse and the Beholder out at Santa Anita. We hit on that and caught up with some of his winners from the past few weeks as well. Flood Zone, who won in New York, the nice stake in New York last week. So we hit on some of that as well. That'll come up a little bit later on our interview with Brad Cox. But we'll kick things off. Again, yesterday we caught up with Ren Carothers. You see her do the paddock commentary every racing day for Tampa. And she is doing it again this weekend. So we caught up with her and checked in and got some thoughts on some of the stakes action down at Tampa Bay Downs with Ren Carothers. So again, a little bit later on, Brad Cox. But let's kick things off. Focus on the big day down at Tampa with Ren Carothers. Big day down at Tampa, obviously, Tampa Bay Derby, really the big day of their season, obviously. They have another big day coming up, but doesn't match Tampa Bay Derby day, and a nice undercard of stakes as well. So again, as usual, when we have a big day at Tampa, who better to reach out to than our friend Ren Carothers? You see her do the paddock commentary throughout the meet. Ren, good morning.
Good morning, Seth.
Happy to have you on board. And you and I were talking just before we went on the air. We're taping on Friday, but you're down at Tampa, and the weather looks very good for Saturday.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be 78 degrees and sunny. It's going to be beautiful. So if you're in the area, come on out. And if you're not, at least tune into the simulcast because it's going to be me and Matt Carothers going head to head.
Very good. Is there any competition at the dinner table?
We do have something cooking. We do. We haven't completely firmed up the details of it all, but we're going to do ROI win place as far as determining the winner. And I got to pass it by Tampa first, but I'm thinking that if he loses, he has to do my job for a day or two, but I keep my paycheck.
I like that. All right. So we'll check in for that as well tomorrow. Let's jump in. Tampa Bay Derby.
Sure.
This is a fun race, no question about it. It was shaping up all season, with some of the preps, the Sam Davis and whatnot, to play out very nicely. I pulled up a replay here of the Sam Davis. John Hancock is going to barely get it done over Owen Almighty. Owen Almighty in here is the number 6 horse. John Hancock electing to go elsewhere, and we'll talk to Brad Cox as well and get an update on some of his runners because he has Patch Adams in here who I think is very playable. I've been a fan of Chancellor McPatrick. I'm kind of a homer, and his 2 races up at Saratoga intrigued me. I had a chance to meet his owner at the end of the season. But I saw the Dave Grenig article where Dave said, Chad feels he's been like maybe 80%. So I'm not sure there. Hill Road also going out for Chad is interesting. So it's a fun race. How did you see the Tampa Bay Derby?
Well, I think Hill Road, this horse, okay, let me back up. I before the Breeders' Cup, I had seen that this horse made it into the juvenile on dirt. It was actually, I believe, his second preference because he was trying to get in the juvenile on turf, which made sense because he was coming in off 2 starts over there in Ireland. He had won his debut, and then he ran 7 feet 9, but that was in the Group 1 Vincent O'Brien National, and he was in with Score-the Champ and Henri Matisse. Henri Matisse, as we know, went on to win the juvenile turf. But Hill Road, I thought he was sneaky getting on dirt for the first time. So I had actually got a hold of a friend of mine because he had asked me what I thought about some of the horses and the pedigrees for that race. He said, I'm not saying it's a win play for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, but I do think this horse could hit the board. And the reason being, he's by Quality Road. He's out of Exotic Notion by Lemon Drop Kid. She is a half-sister to City of Light. City of Light, of course, won a dirt mile, Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. He won the Pegasus World Cup Invitational. He himself, a son of Quality Road. So this cross obviously works. And then City of Light as a sire produced, a sire's fierceness, right? Yeah. So I thought this horse had all the components of doing quite well, getting on dirt at a huge price, and he did not let me down. He came from length back of it to not only have to make up that ground, but he also in stretch, he had to angle out, find running room, and then he closed on the wrong lead to get third, finishing, a respectable margin off Citizen Bull, who we know is a tremendous talent, is our now champion, one of the favorites for the Kentucky Derby. And that field, for the most part there in the juvenile has been pretty lit. So I think Hill Road, we've got, I think, quite enough pace in this race to set up very nicely for him, because I don't think he's suddenly, with the blinkers going on, is going to be a poorly placed horse or anything like that. I think he's still going to come from off it. He may be a bit sharper, and I think he gets it done for Tyler and Brown, who took this last year with domestic product.
Definitely very interesting. And another one of those situations where I'm interested to see what the odds are. It's Chad Brown, a horse, as you say, finishing behind Citizen Bull and Gaming as well, running third in that Breeders' Cup Juvenile. With those connections, and, Chad Brown knows what he has in Chancellor McPatrick, so becomes kind of the other Chad Brown. But I think
the other.
Yeah, he's interesting.
The other.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on Owen Almighty and Patch Adams?
Well, I don't think Owen's in. I mean, he could be in this to win it, but I don't. You correct me if I'm wrong on this. If comments have changed, but I believe the goal for him is not the Derby. I think it was the Pat Day
Mile. Yeah, that was interesting to read that.
Yeah. So could he win here? Absolutely. I don't know. I think he showed a lot of guts going the 2 turns for the first time, going head and head with John Hancock as he did. I do. But I just think, you're going to have Braddour probably going. I think Pat Adams, the only reason he didn't go to the lead last out was because he had a very awkward start from the gate, where he kind of came out on his tiptoes, not once, but and then tried to reestablish himself, but then did it again. So I think we're going to see him poorly placed again. So I think they go. I think Naughty Rascal will be not far off them. I think this sets up for Chancer and Hill Road to then come and make their run. I think Hill Road outkicks them in the end. Another reason being that our surface, I think, is very kind of turfy tight also. So the fact that he was starting his career on turf, I just think he fits for so many reasons. Yeah, and I'm going to be interested to see Chancellor McPatrick after Chad Brown said, maybe 80%. I want to see what an 80% Chancellor does in here. Going to be fun. All right, just before that, the Florida Oaks, 3-year-old fillies on the turf.
Boy, they have some really nice turf stakes Saturday as well. You and I were talking before we went on the air, and I think we're both landing on Nitrogen. I pulled up the replay of the Ginger Brew. Nitrogen's going to be the number 10 horse. I had Nitrogen this day at 9-5, but as I told you off the air, I also had Nitrogen running third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile at 40-something to 1. And we were live up at Canada. We were live for Woodbine Mile Day. And at 41 to 1 at the 16th pole, so I still had to stick at 9-5, and I was, I accepted that price, but it was a little bit disappointing after the big numbers that I missed. But coming out of this win in the Ginger Brew, Nitrogen looks pretty good, but Chad Brown has Opulent Restraint. Lush Lips for Brendan Walsh is interesting. Brillante, if I'm pronouncing that anywhere close to correct, another Chad Brown runner from overseas. But what did you see in the Oaks?
Well, I'm on Nitrogen also. I mean, not only does she earn the respect just based on her resume, but also, for, complete transparency, real good friends with the Greens, DJ Stable. The Cassie Barnes just been just so on point. And, the Ginger Brew, obviously a nice win there in that first start since the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, where she comes from well out of it to finish just 2.5 off the best 2-year-old turf filly in the world in Lake Victoria. She's going to be the top pick. But I do think as my second choice, I think Celtic Motif is very interesting. One of the two Brendan Walsh runners, she was just making a first North American start here on February 9th at Gulfstream, where she just missed by a neck going the mile there. And I think she's going to love more ground. She's by Saxon Warrior. She's out of Art Institute by Arch. This idea of the Sunday Silent sire line over a Roberto sire line, I just love it that she's getting to go a little bit further here. And, the other thing I would say is that she's never finished out of the money. She ran 4 times in Ireland before she came over. She also was in against males in the Goff Million. She was in the Group 3 Staffordstown Stud while carrying 128. So even though she is still a maiden technically, I don't think she is going to be so for very long. She's a beautiful filly from what I could tell on the replay. You got Frankie Dettori riding. So, she'll be the second pick. And then as far as the third pick, Opulent Restraint, you already mentioned her coming in out of the Chelsea Flower Victory. You got to love a Dubawi baby, right? Yeah. But also I think we need to be, prepared to have on our tickets Lush Lips, because even with those blinkers coming off, if she goes to the lead, she went through some pretty honest clips there and was able to stop the clock in a nice final time, wiring the field, and she could shake loose.
Yeah, and you mentioned Frankie. It's a big day for the jockeys. Lush Lips, Gaff Leone will be over to ride. Flavian Prat is in for some rides. Both of the Ortiz brothers. So big day in the jockey colony as well. All right, let's look at the Hillsborough for the fillies and mares on the grass. As I said, lots of nice stakes action on the grass on Saturday. And this one is interesting to me because up at Saratoga this past year, in races like this, you could take a shot with the longest price of the Chad horses. That by the end of the meet, everybody was kind of on that strategy. And in that vein, Venencia is interesting here. And I pulled up a replay of the Endeavor going back to February 1st. It's going to be number 4, Saffron Moon, also a Chad horse and likely off this win to go off favored. See You Around, the number 1, will run second, but Venencia runs third in here. I have the Chads in more logical order. I have Saffron Moon over Spaladay and Venencia. But again, at the price and going back to last summer at Saratoga, Venencia is intriguing. How did you see the Hillsborough?
No, she's definitely intriguing. I actually tried to beat Saffron Moon with Venencia last out, so maybe I'm holding a little grudge against her.
Understandable.
I didn't use her in the top 3 this time. I am actually going to go with the question mark, the number 7, Give Me Another. 1 and 2 entered for Graham Motion, who also has last year's winner, Sparkle Blue, in here. Give me another. She was actually champion 3-year-old filly last year in South Africa, and she actually comes from a champion pedigree as well. She's undefeated, 7 for 7 over there. Her time form ratings are very impressive. Her time form ratings are catch your eye just to begin with. The last race she had was in the Group 1 Empress Club over there. She beat her then stablemate Mike DeCock, trained Humdinger, who then won a Grade 1 out of that race. And what she did that day, she just kind of sat behind the seat and then she kicked on for the win. It was over yielding ground. She's proven at 1 mile and an eighth, though, because she'd won the South Africa Fillies Classic the start prior to that. This filly, I know it says she says it's 5-year-old mare now, but that's because obviously being a Southern Hemisphere horse, she's born in October, so that's why it's not reading as a 4-year-old here. But I know she has not run since that April 6th start. I know this is going to be a different, scenario for her, but class is class and heart is heart. And so I'm going to go with her as the top pick. But yeah, I do think obviously Saffron Moon with Pratt has a big chance. And Eternal Silence, I think this horse is getting big time overlooked. She's going to be the one I'm going to use to spice up the exotic. She had originally been in the barn of Jessica Harrington, and Jessica brought her over to run in the Valley View at Keeneland. And if you watch the start of that race, she gets creamed out of the gate. And then she's like checked into the turn. And she still came on. I know she was 6th, but it's about the beaten length, not the actual placing. And she was 3 3/4 lengths off surge capacity in there. I mean, that was a really good field in the Valley View. So then she took some time off, came back in July, the summer 2024, and she wins that allowance by 2 lengths with ease from the outside post. Christophe Clement, he can have one ready off a big long layoff like this. So I think she's a horse that you definitely want on your ticket.
I looked at her, and 20-1 is certainly intriguing. Joel Rosario will be on board there. And give me another. You have the 3 Chad horses in my top 3 positions. Give me another put in the 4th space. Probably just because of the layoff. I wasn't sure what to do there. But undefeated, now in the Grand Motion barn, I'm very intrigued to see what she does here in the United States debut. All right, and finally, again, we were talking before we went on the air, and you said you maybe had an opinion in the 6th race, and as is typical on these big days early in the season with big 3-year-old races, there are always intriguing maiden races on the card, and this 6th is one of those. Full field set to run in race number 6 on Saturday at 7 furlongs. What did you see here?
Well, I like Playa del Mar in here for Bill Mott. And I know people generally, Bill doesn't care if his horses win first out or not. He likes them to have that learning experience. But whenever I see a Bill Mott trainee coming in with, a couple bullet drills like this one has, debuting with the Lasix, a really nice pedigree by Intimate out Florida de la Mar by Tiz now. I mean, this, as you would expect, it's Godolphin homebred, so the pedigree is very good. The mom had won her debut at Santa Anita by 5 lengths. Ran second to Beltina later in the Santa Anita Oaks in 2019, and then she later won the Beverly J. Lewis. And then the granny is a graded safe starter, Say Christie by Pulpit. And so this is a family of Purge, Jersey Girl, Valid Wager, real nice. And I think this horse looks poised to get the career started on a very nice note. Accelerize is another first-time starter that's in the race for Spendthrift and Rapoli. The trainer there listed is assistant to Todd Fletcher, Anthony Sciametta.
Oh, okay. The penalty has started. Oh, you're right. Yeah, okay.
Correct. Yeah, correct. And so they went ahead and they, Triple Crown nominated this boy. As you'll see in the PPs with the little stamp there. This horse looks like he could go any surface by Omaha Beach. She was good on turf, but obviously multiple graded winner on dirt. The mother is Mother Emotion. It took her till start 3 to win, but then she picked up some graded stakes placings, the Honeybee, the Fantasy, the Fleur de Lis. She won the Zia Park Oaks. And so this is a really nice family as well. You've got some turfy stuff in here with shared account and sharing, but again, lots of black type. But I will also say at a price, do not discount the number 5 in this race, the horse who's actually run once. And talking about Night Agent in for Shug McGahee. He debuted him going 8.5 on the turf. And he got bumped out of the gate, didn't show much after that. But I really like this move to the main track. He's by Ghost Zapper. Should train the mom power move by More Than Ready. She won her debut going 6 furlongs at Belmont on the dirt. She was second in the Tempted. And you actually have some really big-time names in there with Breeders' Cup Distaff winner, Millionaire, Pleasant Home, Guarana, who won the Acorn and the Coaching Club of American Oaks. And Guarana was by Go Zapper also. So I really like this horse getting on dirt, cutting back to one turn.
I'm right in the ballpark. I have the 6 on top. I have the 5 in the mix. In between those two, I use the West Point runner, going for a little bit of experience from Christophe Clement. And I looked at the Rapoli runner. I would not talk anyone off of that, but I too like Playa Del Mar in here. Yeah. So and Night Agent, Shug, as he shipped over to Tampa this year, according to the DRF stats, 40%. So I think you have to look at anything.
It's incredible.
Yeah. And you mentioned it earlier, Mark Cat. Yeah, no, he did. Around here, our local patrons are all big Shug fans. They're all over the Shug, particularly if they get a price like this. But you mentioned earlier, Mark Cassie and his barn have just been on fire this winter.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
Just spotting those horses right where they belong, and it's the execution.
And Mark's
they make a plan and they execute. Yes, absolutely.
Mark's a great guy too. Always like to talk to him up at Saratoga when we're up there, and always like to talk to you, Ren. We appreciate the visit, particularly on a big day like this. And we will certainly be tuned in on Saturday for your paddock commentary. And as I always say, we will live vicariously because you have that. They have you in that nice position right out by the paddock, out in the bright sunshine. So enjoy and appreciate the conversation.
Thank you so much, Seth. Appreciate you and all you do.
Appreciate it. Ren Carothers, again, she will be giving the pre-race commentary, as usual, on the big day down at Tampa on Saturday.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Big day at Tampa tomorrow, obviously, with the Tampa Bay Derby, and we'll hit on that and more with our next guest, Brad Cox. Brad, good morning.
Good morning, Seth. Thanks for having me on.
Happy to have you on. Talk a little bit about you have Summit at Tampa. You're taking a little shot against the champ at Oaklawn. You've got one out in Southern California, and maybe we'll recap some of the winners recently as well and catch up with what may be in the future for them. But let's start right out. Tampa Bay Derby, you have Patch Adams in. I pulled up a replay of the Maiden Breaker at Churchill in November, wins this by double digits. And off of that, you came back in the Southwest, got off to a little bit of a funky start in the Southwest and wound up fourth behind Speed King and Sandman. Patch Adams, what was your takeaway on the Southwest, and what do you expect Saturday in the Tampa Bay Derby?
Well, I'm expecting the race from when he broke his maiden. That's what I'm looking for. That's the Patch Adams we see of the mornings, and we're excited about giving him another chance. He's a good colt. He's trained well. I can't really come up with an excuse for the performance in the Southwest other than he just didn't get away well. He's a horse with a good bit of speed. Hopefully that's on full display at Tampa on Saturday.
And that Southwest was his first time around two turns. You aren't looking at that as any kind of excuse, right? There's not going to be a distance limitation in that respect on Saturday.
No, I don't think so. I mean, just he's a really good moving horse. He's got a great stride. He's out of a mare that will perform going long. And, I think, he'll be able to handle the 2 turns with a good trip and getting away and getting into the race. I never really expected him to be as far back going into the first turn in the Southwest as he was. Just kind of scratching my head going into the first turn. And, he made a run. Obviously, the winner ran a big race that day and got a clear lead and ran well. So, once again, we're just kind of hoping to get a little more involved early and, hopefully stays on.
Nice little field of 7, but I'm guessing with your strategy, you're happy with the outside post position. It's the 7, you're outside, you get to see what everybody else does, but you're not too far out.
You think so? I think it's a good draw on paper. We got to execute and get away well, and that'll be up to Florent to put him in a good position. And obviously, like you said, there's some speed to the inside, and we're hoping to get a good trip, and it can show that he's able to handle the 2 turns.
And I have to ask, because obviously it's Tampa Bay Derby, the highlight of the 3-year-old series down at Tampa. You had the winner of the Sam Davis, John Hancock, an 85 buyer coming out of that. I saw he had worked fairly recently last week. You had a couple of wins with him at Tampa, the Maiden Breaker, and then the Sam Davis. What might be next for John Hancock?
Well, we're going to enter him in the Virginia Derby.
Oh, okay.
We're going to enter 2 in the Virginia Derby. I'm not certain which one will run. We're going to enter Rapture and John Hancock in the Virginia Derby, and one will end up there and one will end up in the Louisiana Derby. So, we're going to try to space them out. But entering 7 days out, there's some pros and cons with it. We would just like to see how they draw post position, and we're going to run what we think, whichever one we think suits the mile and an eighth, 1-turn mile and an eighth best.
Interesting. The whole new concept there is going to be kind of a fun weekend to see how the race is supported and whatnot. And it seems like it's turning out. It'll be nice. So we'll see how that all plays out. But on the Tampa Bay card tomorrow, also the Challenger. You have Most Wanted in here. I pulled up a replay from the Clark last year. You're by phone, so you don't have to watch it because obviously just a close-up second behind Rattle and Roll in there. But Most Wanted, the seasonal debut on Saturday, and he could be one of these 4-year-olds. The 3-year-olds from last year who ended up the season showing some talent, they're going into that older division to make that a lot of fun this year, and Most Wanted could add to that. What do you expect tomorrow in the Challenger from Most Wanted?
I expect a big run. I mean, he's a nice horse. We've always liked him. He ran really well last time there in the Clark, just come up short. And, it was obviously against a seasoned horse that had, showed a lot. And, I think he had a good winner at Payson and looking forward to getting that season kicked off.
Yeah, that Clark ended an undefeated streak. He was 4 for 4, Oklahoma Derby, the Ellis Park Derby. So again, I'm curious to see if he adds his name to that 4-year-old division that's going to make the handicap division a lot of fun this year. Do you sense a level of maturity, from 3 to 4?
Well, I do. Look, he's always been a good workhorse. Once again, we've always liked him. He's a very smart horse. He doesn't overdo it. He listens to what a rider wants from him. And, I think tomorrow's grade 3, $125,000 race. It's a very, very good race from top to bottom. It's a solid run, and he's going to have to, show up and put a big effort in to get it done. But we expect him to do that.
Looking forward to it. And I have to ask you on the undercard, with these 3-year-old early season races, a lot of times the undercard features some nice first level allowance runners or some maiden races. And one of the nice maiden races for the fillies is the 3rd at Tampa on Saturday. And you have a full sibling to Gamine, Cha-Cha Quick. What are your expectations from her on Saturday?
Well, we expect her to run well. She's very fast. She's quick away from the gate. She had a gate work this past weekend, and we expect her to run well. I feel like it's a good spot and good time to get her career started, and hopefully she can make a good showing and build off this.
Are you getting a sense that there is a level of talent? I mean, it's tough to match up to Gamine, but are you getting the sense that you might have a good one here?
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm not going to sit here at all and think she's Gamine or anything like that. I mean, she was she was a free talent. But this filly's, trained well and she's fit and she's ready to go.
All right. And again, that's on the undercard at Tampa. We mentioned, and Cha-Cha Quick has been working at Payson. You mentioned a couple of the other ones working at Payson. That's kind of a new scenario for you. As I pulled up Equibase, it's a time of the year where you have horses really running all over. But having a base in Florida, as I say, is something new. And just reading, it seems like maybe you're pretty happy with it. Give us a little rundown on how the season has played out for you. And you have a fair number of horses there, but how have things played out with the winter in Florida at Payson Park?
Yeah, we love it. I mean, it's great. It's been a good bit of time here. And, we're looking to do a little bit more here next year. And look, we're not necessarily here with the intent on having an impact racing in South Florida. It's more of a place to come, prepare horses, just like most hunting. He's been down here all winter. Payson obviously gives you an opportunity to turn horses out. Month of December, he really was able to, relax and turned out of the day and continue some light training. So it really works well for horses. It's a great spot. If horses don't do well at Payson, they're not going to do well anyway. It's an amazing place, and I think it showed. We've been able to ship horses to Oak Lawn, Fairground, Belmont, on a van a week of the race, and they're able to go over, take their show on the road and come back and recover well. So it's something that we're looking forward to continuing to do the years to come, and, I think it was a great move.
Yeah, I got a chance to go up there. We were down covering the Florida Derby a couple of years ago, and I drove up to Payson and shot some video and whatnot, and really a nice facility and a great place to, as you say, train some horses in a relaxed atmosphere and whatnot. All right, let's move on to Oak Lawn on Saturday. I hinted at it at this top, but you have Alpine Princess going in the Azeri at Oak Lawn Saturday against Torpedo Anna. I pulled up the Remington Park Oaks. This is going back 3 starts, but it was a big win for Alpine Princess. Subsequently, a close-up second in the Cumley, close-up second in the Houston Ladies. What are your expectations, again, stepping in against Torpedo Anna on Saturday in the Azeri for Alpine Princess?
We're going to get a big run out of her, I do believe. Once she gets a good trip, she's primed and ready. I love how she's trained leading up to this, obviously. It's a tall task. We're catching a champion off of a layoff, and it might be time to catch it. But, we'll see. Again, expectations are to run well. I don't know if that results in a victory or not, but, we've prepared her the best we can, and she's accepted everything we've thrown at her since her layoff last summer. She's been really good with all 3 runs off the layoff. I'm looking forward to giving her a shot against a champion tomorrow.
Yeah, certainly she always runs well. And if you're going to take the champion, why not off the seasonal layoff? So she'll be fun tomorrow also. And then, as I mentioned, you're out in Southern California as well with Tarifa. I pulled up a replay going back to the Mother Goose. Nice little gutsy victory there for number 3, Tarifa, in that replay. Subsequently was second in the Fall City at Churchill. So this will be the seasonal debut from the Payson Park workout base. What are your expectations on Saturday in the Beholder Mile out of Santa Anita? I mean, Baffert has a tough one in there with Cavalieri. Richie is also an interesting runner for Baffert, but you're taking a shot shipping across country. So I'm assuming you're expecting a big effort.
Yeah, similar situation to Alpine, only we're not running against champions. Obviously it's a good group, but look, she's trained really well. When we got her back going, she's another one we kind of gave the month of December. Chilled out atmosphere for her, turned her out a little bit. She's trained really well and expect a big effort out of her as well. She gives us a lot of confidence. And she physically, I think she's developed from 3 to 4. She's carrying a good bit of flesh. Coat's great. And if she runs as well as she looks, she'll be right there.
And again, it is a mile. What do you expect? The last few, mile and 16. But what are you expecting for the mile trip? Will that suit her?
I'm hopeful. I think there's some speed there. We're probably going to, if somebody gets out loose on the lead, we might be in trouble. But I think we got to break running. Listen, we got Mike Smith, Hall of Famer. We've had some luck with him in the past. It'll be up to him to where he puts her. But what I saw was a little speed. I'll probably get away from her a little bit. Hopefully not too far, and can stay on and finish up well.
And let me just catch up on some horses from recent weeks and what might be ahead from them, because last weekend Flood Zone was really impressive in the Gotham. We'll watch the stretch run here. Flood Zone's number 7 under Raylu, local product of upstate New York, a 98 buyer. This was impressive. Couple of maiden starts down in Florida against state breds, broke the maiden down there, and then came up and put in a big performance. What, your takeaway from the Gotham and what might be next for Flood Zone?
Big run in the Gotham. I mean, look, we just picked this horse up 4 or 5 weeks prior to that race. I think we put 3 half-mile works in him at Payson. He went up there, he ran huge. I can't tell you that I expected that. Didn't really know the horse that well. I did like what we had seen from him of the morning to pursue the Gotham. He made it back to Payson yesterday. Went back to track. It's fantastic. And look, I think there's several races in play, including the UAE Derby. We're going to possibly look at that as well, shipping him over, and we'll make a decision here in the next week. But he's doing real well. I'm happy with the way he came out of the race.
Interesting. You say you weren't expecting it. The betting public wasn't either at $37 and change, but that was a big effort. So be looking forward to seeing what he does, because it's fun along the Derby trailer. I have to ask Sacrosanct, what was the takeaway there? That one a little bit disappointing. The New York bred had been undefeated, wound up running 8th in the Gotham. How did the horse come out, and what might be next for Sacrosanct?
We're going to back up on him a little bit. He had a foot issue that kept him out of the withers, and the foot seemed to be bugging him just a little bit out of the Gotham. So we're going to back up on him. He'd never had a break. He came to us from the serial cell, prepared him for the summer there at Saratoga. He showed up every time and run hard. It just felt like obviously. We couldn't pursue the Derby dream anymore, so now it's time to back up, and hopefully we'll have a fresh, clean horse for Saratoga this summer.
Yeah, and when you have a good New York bred, you can pick, New York bred stakes or try some open company again, and he certainly has some talent. I have to ask about Good Cheer. We're going to take a look at the Rachel Alexandra back on February 15th. Good Cheer is going to be the number 2. Continues an undefeated streak here. What might be next for the filly?
Fairgrounds Oaks.
Okay.
She'll have second work back tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, I should say. And excited about giving her an opportunity. She's been, amazing in the afternoon. 5 for 5, and hoping to get a similar performance in the Fairgrounds Oaks as we got in the Rachel, and have her ready the first Friday in May. She's a good filly. She's all class. She's very, I wouldn't use the word, I would say she's kind of easy to train. She's not hard on herself. She's kind. She listens to what the rider asks and wants of her, and just a real classy filly to be around.
She's been training at Payson too, but if I'm not mistaken, when I looked last night at Equibase, her most recent work was at Fairgrounds. So she's sticking at Fairgrounds?
Yeah, she stayed there. We just thought with our race plan and trying to get her to the Oak and where we were, it just made sense to leave her there at the Fairgrounds as opposed to coming back to Payson and then going back to the Fairgrounds and then to Kentucky. We just ship her the one time, and then hopefully all goes well on to Kentucky and to Churchill and prepare for the Oaks.
Yeah, certainly 5 for 5 and has been very good looking so far. And I have to ask, you had a win streak snapped a few weeks ago in the Honeybee at Oaklawn with Mahima. They kind of ran 1, 2, 3, 4 around the track there. Mahima in the replay is going to be the number 1 horse here behind Quiet Side and 5G. How'd she come out of the race? Your takeaway, the Honeybee, and where might we look for Mahima next?
Well, she breezed this morning at the Fairgrounds. We shipped her to the Fairgrounds. She was at Payson prior. the Honeybee. But look, she came out of in great shape. She had a really good breeze this morning by herself. And we're looking at the Ashland with her. That was our plan the whole time with Honeybee Ashland. And, look, we didn't get the result we wanted in the Honeybee, but we're going to stay the course. Happy with the way she come out of it physically. She's moving great. The work one was, a good move. She's a great workhorse. And we'll do a little bit more with it the next few weeks and prepare for the Ashland.
Very good. Well, Brad, we always appreciate your being able to take the time to fill us in. We wish you a lot of good luck, Tampa and all the other venues on Saturday and with some of these other horses going forward. And we will talk again in the future.
Sounds good, Seth. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Brad Cox, again, big day lined up across the country on Saturday and beyond.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America, now live in the studio. Again, we had those taped interviews from yesterday. Want to thank Ren Carothers. Again, you can watch her all day today. Pre-race commentary in the paddock down at Tampa on a big day down there. And Brad Cox, obviously very busy with a big weekend of racing, so we appreciate his taking the time yesterday as well to look at his Tampa runners and others across the country, as they said in the interview, taking on the champ, Torpedo Anna, down at Oaklawn, and then he has one shipped out to Santa Anita for the Beholder. I had the PP. There we go. Those races, we will give you a little update on post times. The Azeri at Oaklawn, which is going to feature Torpedo Anna and Brad Cox and Alpine Princess, it'll go off our time, scheduled at 6:25. It's going to be race number 10 at Oaklawn, the Azeri. Again, it'll go off at about 6:25. A little bit after that, 6:43, scheduled our time, is the Beholder Mile out at Santa Anita. Field of 6 scheduled. And again, Baffert has a couple of good-looking runners, but Brad sounded confident with Tarifa. We shall see. It's going to be her seasonal debut as a 4-year-old, so we'll see. But again, a couple of nice stakes otherwise across the country, adding to the big day at Tampa. Tomorrow or overnight tonight, daylight savings kicks in. Yay. I can't believe there's like a discussion to get rid of daylight savings. If anything, let's do it all year long. We don't want to get rid of it. But we will have some added daylight coming up after tonight into tomorrow. And Aqueduct sent out an update for their March post times. During March, they're only racing 3 days a week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Starting next Friday, every day, starting next Friday, they will have a 1:10 post time at Aqueduct. Fridays will feature 8 races. Saturday will feature 10 races. And again, this is for the month of March. Saturdays, 10 races. Sundays, 9 races. Saturdays and Sundays, there'll be a mid-card pick 4. But again, starting next Friday down in New York, the first race post time will be 1:10 with daylight savings kicking in. Equibase sent out the monthly Thoroughbred Racing Economic Indicators. And, with the month of February, we could see this coming. It wasn't just around here. It was all over the country. The weather was just not kind to the horse racing game. And so it was not unexpected. The handle went down just a touch over 8%, which is a big number. That is not a good number. But again, it was really all racing related. The handle went down 8%. The number of races went down 11%. Again, with cancellations due to the weather, you lose 11% of your races, and then the handle only goes down 8%. I guess you might look at that as a little bit of a win. But now we'll be fighting a little bit as the year progresses because year to date, 2024 to 2025, first 2 months of the year, January and February, we're down 2.7% handle-wise. So again, we'll be chasing a little bit, but it's always good to keep these numbers in context. You can't just look at that handle number and say, "Wow, it went down 8% in February. Ooh, that's bad for race." It was very, very much tied into the weather, which again, here in upstate New York, we were well aware of cold, snow, ice, but it affected all over. There was Oak Lawn had cold and snow. There was some chilly weather and wet weather down in Florida, and Fairgrounds had snow this winter as well. So again, you have to keep it in context, and the weather played a huge part. NYRA sent out the stakes schedule through the July 4th weekend at Saratoga. The Saratoga schedule itself, stakes schedule, hasn't been put out, but the June 7th Belmont Stakes program will have 8 stakes aside from the Belmont itself. 4 other grade ones will be run. The Metropolitan, the Manhattan, the Woody Stevens, and the Jaipur, all grade ones. So it looks like, a big weekend. Obviously, Belmont Stakes week and weekend. 4 grade ones will be held on June 6th. The New York, the Acorn, the Ogden Phipps, and the Just a Game is part of a 6 stakes card. The New York Showcase program, which was held the day after the Belmont Stakes last year, will now be held on June 4th, a Wednesday card that wasn't part of things last year. So that'll be fun for the New York Breds. We'll, if we're in the popping on TV in the morning, which we will, we'll get Naj over to talk about that. But that should be fun. What was some of the other news? Oh, the Brooklyn and the Dwyer the article describes being furloughed. So a little time off. We were just talking in the studio here, with the stake schedule for the rest of the year not being mentioned. Maybe they come up later. We shall see. But I was a little bit surprised that they were going to the sidelines, as it were. The July 4th Racing Festival, 10 stakes, 5 of those races will be held on Friday, July 4th itself. The Grade 1 Belmont Derby. Then I'll add in the Suburban, the Manila, the Schuylerville, the Harvey Pack. Those two, the Schuylerville and the Harvey Pack, have been moved from the traditional Saratoga meet here. That was a little bit interesting as well. And again, the stakes program for the traditional 40-day Saratoga meet that'll start on July 10th hasn't been announced yet. But you can go over to the NYRA website and click on news. I think mine, I did. I pulled it out from a Dave Grenig article in the Racing Forum. He goes over it. If you went to the NYRA site proper and clicked on news, you can also read the full article on the stakes schedule coming up for not only that, the Belmont and the Belmont Stakes and the July 4th cards at Saratoga, but it also has the Spring Aqueduct Stakes as well. So if you'd like more info there, I was just hitting highlights. But if you'd like the full info, again, you can go to the NYRA website, click on news, or look up the Dave Grenig article in the Racing Forum. Speaking of the Dave Grenig article, he had an article about Owen Almighty in the Tampa Bay Derby. And this was interesting. We touched on it just briefly with Ren. Trainer Brian Lynch says Owen Almighty, it runs in the Tampa Bay Derby as a prep for the Pate Mile. The Tampa Bay Derby gives him 8 weeks to the Pate Mile, whereas a race like the Lafayette at Keeneland on April 4th would give him only 4. And partner Anthony Mormino talked about Saratoga becoming more and more a prep for the Breeders' Cup. Trainers now, you talk about the foal crop going down, but this is just as notable when your game plan is, let's get a nice little 2-month spacing between our races. It's incredible. But and Brian Lynch, in the article, Dave Rennick notes, Brian Lynch said, even a win on Saturday, which would give Owen Almighty 50 qualifying points for the Kentucky Derby, will not sway the plan. It looks like the Pate Mile for Owen Almighty. So keep that in mind with the Tampa Bay Derby today. Also, another Grennig article talked to Chad Brown about Chancellor McPatrick. I'm a big fan of Chancellor McPatrick. I love the 2 races he had up at Saratoga, the Champagne. Got to meet his owner right at the end of the meet, and maybe we'll pull Sean Flanagan over to sit in with us this summer up in Saratoga. He was fun to talk to up there. And so I'm interested to see what Chancellor McPatrick does this afternoon in the 3-year-old seasonal debut. But in the Grennig article, Chad Brown's quoted, it's a very tricky race. Speaking of the Kentucky Derby, obviously running 3-year-olds a mile and a quarter in May on dirt, it's a very unique feat. Everything has to go right. I find it to be the most challenging race to get to in good shape, and we haven't won. It's a real minefield to get there. And that is the kind of the fun of the Derby Trail. It's the same spot every year. You have the prep races essentially in the same positions, and so you can watch and look historically at how horses are brought in, how trainers do following that path. So it's interesting. But what I found more interesting in regards to today, a little later in the article, Chad Brown talks about Chancellor McPatrick, who won the Hopeful in the Champagne last year, had a little flake removed from a front ankle after he finished 6th in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year. So Chad Brown says that definitely backed me up a little bit. Over the last 3 weeks, he's made up a lot of ground quick, Chancellor McPatrick. I wasn't quite sure he was going to get there in time. He's about 80% ready. That's good enough to get him started. We'll see. We'll run him here, Tampa Bay Derby, and evaluate what we're going to do after that. So I just wanted to note that, that little bit of trainer speak. Maybe we'll see how he does today. But Chad kind of saying, we're going to get him started. He's about 80%. We'll get him started, and then they could maybe aim for points also in the bluegrass or whatnot. But it'll be interesting to see how he does today after that comment. As I say, is that a little bit of trainer speak? We're just tempering the expectations a little bit. But again, I'm a big fan, so looking forward to seeing him get back to the races this afternoon. It was also announced this week, Trevor Denman announced his retirement. Anybody who watches and has over the years watched Southern California racing, you're very familiar with Trevor Denman. You had the great Colin Zenyatta. It's unbelievable. They'll have to sprout wings. There's some great Trevor Denman calls and catchphrases over the years, certainly. But he announced this week his career at this point was Del Mar in the summer. There's the Del Mar Fall Meet. Larry Colmus had that. Now Larry Colmus has been named as the Del Mar announcer, so he'll do summer and fall. So Larry Colmus moving into the booth permanently after Trevor Denman announced his retirement, which got a lot of buzz on social media, and deservedly so. Again, if you watch Southern California over the years, you are very, very familiar with Trevor Denman. And just before we wrap up, we'll give you a little update on the NTRA polls this time of year through the Triple Crown. I think I was going to say this time of year there's 2 polls, 3-year-old poll and a general thoroughbred poll. And the 3-year-old poll, I think, ends after the Triple Crown. So they go through Belmont, Preakness, Kentucky Derby Belmont, Kentucky Derby Preakness Belmont, and then it just goes to the thoroughbred poll. But at this point, we have 2 polls. Citizen Bull is at the top of the 3-year-old poll. Journalism second. Sovereignty off the big win moved from 15 to 3. Cold Battle moved down 1 from 3 to 4. Barnes from 2 to 5. John Hancock, who we mentioned with Brad, is sitting at number 6. Disco Time is sitting at number 5. Flood Zone, who wasn't mentioned at all. Again, there is a list of the top 10, and then there's others who receive votes. So Flood Zone hadn't gotten a vote previously. So Flood Zone goes from no mention to number 8. River Thames goes from 20 to number 9. And Captain Cook rounds out the top 10. So there's your top 10 on the NTRA 3-year-old poll. On the overall thoroughbred poll, White Abarrio sits on top, locked off the big recent performance, moves from number 5 to number 2. Torpedo Anna, who had been at number 2, drops to number 3. We'll see what she does today and where she winds up in the poll next week. Sierra Leone sits at number 4. Straight No Chaser, number 5. Mindframe moved from 14 to number 6. Fierceness at number 7. Spirit of St. Louis, number 8. Forever Young sits at number 9. And Hall of Fame at number 10 in there. So there are your thoroughbred polls with a plethora of some of the people we have on the show quite a bit are part of the, you can go, and I think every week you can actually go and see how the voters voted. But there's a nice list of voters, and I was going to say a number of the people we have regularly on the show. Mike McAdam, I think, is a voter on the NTRA poll, but they have a nice list of racing types, racing media types, racing overall types that vote every week. So it's kind of fun to see what the opinions are out there, 3-year-olds and overall. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for Racing Across America for this Saturday morning. We'll be back in a little bit for OTB Live for Saturday afternoon. I have some Aqueduct and some Gulfstream, but have also handicapped Tampa for today and their big day. You can also go to the website, capitalotb.com, and click on the handicapping link and then the handicapper support. And most racing days, there's a nice printable page there, our one sheet. Brian Nadeau has his matrix in there. I have my 3 tracks. There's also some Santa Anita handicapping typically. So again, you can pull up the one sheet most racing days, capitalotb.com, handicapping link, and then the handicapper support. Also, again, want to remind you that today, Hudson Branch, there's the Fan Appreciation Day, some food, some fun, some vouchers, PPs, and a contest. Gives us our chance to say thank you to you. Fan Appreciation Day at the Hudson Branch. And also coming up tomorrow here at the Clubhouse Racebook, King of the Hill. Come on in, have a little extra fun. You can watch all the sports on the sports screens and have all the horse racing action. Grab a little lunch at Black Bear. But on Sundays, the King of the Hill contest as well. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for this edition of Racing Across America. Been a fun morning. Again, thanks to Ren Carothers and Brad Cox. Thanks to you for tuning in. And have a second here. So always good to remind people, if you are watching on YouTube, and I know a lot of people do, they might not be in the area or whatnot, and the morning programming is live on our Capital OTB YouTube channel. But if you watch on YouTube, click the like button, subscribe, and then you get alerted when programming shows up. And if you'd like to make a comment underneath, all of that just kind of moves us up the search algorithm and just helps us kind of spread the word. So again, if you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, we would appreciate it. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up for this Saturday morning. Seth Merrow in here again. Thanks to you for tuning in. Back in about an hour and a half or so for OTB Live for Saturday afternoon. We'll see you then. We would like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Gulfstream Park's championship meet runs now through March 30th with high-quality action throughout, including the Florida Derby on Saturday, March 29th.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.